Hey everyone. Recently I've had a couple people ask about Guitar Engine, and actually over the years several people have still inquired about Guitar Engine, and to be honest, it's kind of abandonware. I haven't really touched it since I think 2019 or 2020. I've done a couple Band-Aid fixes to try to just keep it up and running over time. It's a very poor program, to be honest. I've decided to go through and do a new iteration of Guitar Engine, and currently it's called the Parametric Guitar Maker. And what this is a completely new add-in, and this will be fully parametric, and hopefully a lot of people find it helpful. Currently, I'm just trying to focus on a basic fretboard. Uh, Personally, I think guitar should be more modular. So trying to do a single solution for a fully, one file parametric guitar, um, that gets really complicated. Uh, Different things can break, and that's just a lot for Fusion. Fusion really likes smaller blocks put together versus like one huge block. So what this is a React application running off the web that gets loaded into a browser palette in Fusion. And there's a handshake here, so this will only load in Fusion. If you go to the actual domain on the web, it won't load. And what this is talking to through the API. The front end is talking to the back end in Fusion. So what this will do is, excuse me, we will actually import a pre-built file. um, Guitar Engine was built with 100% code. Everything was generated on the fly, and over the years that has kind of proved to be problematic as Fusion updates their API, makes changes to the back end, and it was written in Python. And as Python evolves and changes over time, that required a lot more upkeep and maintenance to make sure features and the entire thing didn't break, which a lot of you probably saw it did over the years. So what I've done is I've built an actual file within Fusion fully parametrically, making sure the constraints are proper and that it actually works. And what this does is this will load in that file, but give you access to um, change the parameters in a lot more of a aesthetic and hopefully user-friendly approach than just going through the uh, parameter sheet in Fusion. So we go through here, and these are all going to be hard coded in. So these will have a stock value. I'll go through eventually, and I'll have it to where um, we can have templates, maybe like a Stratocaster, a Telecaster, a Gibson, things like that. You'll be able to create your own. It's just text files with values in it. So you'll be able to go through and create your own and probably have like an import export or a drop down to load in your the style of guitar or neck you want to work with. Again, right now, this is just kind of focusing just on the fretboard. Um, and you can search things here. You can go through like, okay, well, I want this to be a little less subtle, or more subtle, excuse me. And then I can initiate it and hit import and apply. And this is going to take a moment to initiate. It's something I'm going to work on. I don't think that's something that is not able to be circumvented. I think it's just my current the way I have implemented it so far. It's probably a little slack and lazy. So what this does is it's going to sit here for a moment so it's importing the file. It's creating a new document. So within that new document, it can preserve um, the proper component structure from the browser. It's going to import the timeline. There's no timeline here, and we're still in that initial file. Um, so you'll see once it loads, this will create a new document with the timeline in, and we can from there start building off the fretboard. So again, it's just going to take a minute, and I'm sure there's a way to speed this up. I think one of the huge culprits is the fret slots. These are more of an aesthetic thing. You don't necessarily need these for CAM. So if we were to go through and just suppress these, the file will work a lot quicker. So let's just go ahead and go to the top view. Shoot. Name view, top. Bingo. And we can see here, these are all things I've created within the default file, trying to keep it as organized as possible. We have your root component, then you have your, which would be your guitar. Then you have your subcomponents, your neck, your nested component within that, your fretboard, and then anything, your proper structure. And then so if we initiate the add-in again, and we'll get rid of that, we can now see it no longer says import, it says apply to model. So now it's contextually aware of if the file is loaded, then we can actually make changes to it in real time. So we can do something like, well, actually, let's go ahead and turn on our, where are you at? Fret lines, our fret projection. So we can see kind of where our frets are. And let's say we want to do a fret count of 21. Maybe we want to do string count is 6, neutral fret will do 1 just to make things kind of extreme. And then let's change this to 24.75. And this is going to be a subtle change, but if we pay attention, we'll see it. And then now you see it says apply 4 changes. With everything that we've modified, it'll give us a visual indicator that we are working with these updated values. And so we can hit apply changes. And again, this will take a second. And there it is. We see that it's been updated. So Fusion is obviously, it's a parametric modeler, not a procedural modeler. So certain things Fusion doesn't do well. I can't say generate 21 of these strings because, or excuse me, frets, because these are all actual projected to a surface sketch line. So to do this, it's sometimes easier just to kind of overbuild it to know that 24 is the cap. It's the most I'll ever use. So as long as I have that 24, I can go down to something like 19, and that still works. And then we can go, okay, well, we want more of a single scale fretboard. We can apply the change. Okay, that works. And this being a React app, I will go through and make this hopefully more user friendly. Be able to suppress timeline groups or features within the timeline through the app. So ideally, this is just kind of more of a streamlined way to interact with the procedural generation of the fretboard. Unfortunately, it's kind of going to lock you into the pre-built file and this workflow if you want to continue using this. Because if you go through and kind of build on this and make your own modifications, this probably won't catch all that and work properly with that. But that's okay because you still have access to all your actual user parameters and your model parameters here. So if anything, it's a good starting point. Well, hopefully, just like Guitar Engine, it wasn't to be a perfect solution that worked throughout the whole process. It was more just like a launch pad of like, here's the fretboard, which is arguably probably the most crucial part of your guitar build. Once you have the scale length and your fret spacing, from there, it's a lot of more aesthetic design, for your body and your headstock. So again, this is very early in the process. There's a lot of things I still need to go through and work on. I know I definitely didn't touch on everything. I don't really know what I'm talking about when I record. I just kind of ramble and mumble through it. So if there's any questions, please let me know. If you have any suggestions, I'd love to hear them. Again, thousands of people have been building guitars with Fusion over the last several years, so everybody probably has their own little workflow. I only know my workflow, so I'm definitely all ears for suggestions on how I can improve, things that can be done better, maybe more efficiently, or things I can add that I haven't considered. Thank you so much, and I hope for some of you this is exciting. Once I feel confident about where it's at, I'll release it to GitHub, and then you should be able to download and play around with yourself. Play around with the file yourself. So again, just let me know your thoughts. Thank you.